What's up?
Hello.
Hey, buddy. What is up? How
See,
has
look, I
y
thought I was gonna be like late, and I'm the first one to the party.
Laz? First and foremost, and I want to really reiterate this. Your content, yourself in the Matrix Explained. I consider you sort of these twin flames out there, eternal Matrix enlightening, illuminating, elucidating, fucking edifying, whatever, all the words to describe people who have immersed themselves in the Matrix, who live it really truly. Your content in terms of quality, I said that first, quality and then quantity, is just so fucking generous, man. It is so quintessentially like that's the spirit of what this endless rabbit hole is, right? And I love that you have that as part of your kind of that motif of the rabbit hole and going deeper and deeper. And so like off the fucking bat, man, like mad respect, and you're really killing the game. You're just the number one out there, man. So had to say it from the start.
Thank you. No, I appreciate it. I appreciate people, like noticing, the amount of effort that goes into it. Because I just thought that, when I started the channel, that there was a void there. But I do want to shout out Vesuvius MXO, because he's like more focused on the Matrix Online.
Yeah.
So you know what I mean? That's like even further down the rabbit hole, like the niche of the niche. But like he's like really like when I because I played the game, but like you know what I mean? Like if I draw a blank, or if I'm like trying to remember what happened in the storyline, like I'll go straight to him, and he's like always, if he doesn't remember, he'll point me to exactly where I can find it. So
exactly.
There's a few of us. There's a handful of us. That's the thing. I'm not by myself out here.
That's right. Exactly.
But that was the other thing. I wanted to put that kind of bat signal, that beacon out there to find each other. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like there are some hardcore Matrix fans. We're out here.
Yeah.
And it's time to connect. I mean, when I looked at like the like Star Wars and Star Trek, they're older franchises.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So they've had like that generation where, okay, you can watch it with your dad or whatever. So I feel like Matrix is just now getting to that point. But
that's right.
Now it's up to us as the fans to push it over that hump.
Man, you said it more eloquently, more succinctly than I could have put it, definitely. And as you said, it's great to have these like self-sustaining flames, which is yourself out there, which honestly, again, it was not emaciated, but I would say just there was a lot less, down to a trickle, if anything, probably to the point where, like I have this guy here, this kind of reminded me of a time when, there was things, do you remember comics? Like that was a thing back in the day when we actually had stuff to kind of dive into, and it had almost down from a trickle to almost nothing. And just looking at just across the years, your just regular I find I'm so openly I'm very, very unfettered in expressing my admiration for people who I did this with the Kojima. We did a huge sort of like multi-year process of just, there's no information. Let's go in all the directions. Let's discuss all the adjacent additive, knowledge enhancing things, which by the time anything happens, even if nothing ever does happen, just the exercise of going through that philosophical, spiritual, existential, all those angles, like they inform your appreciation for what came, and then what for potentially will come. And it is just, that is a really, really worthwhile endeavor. So, but I have to echo what my friend Laz just said. Listeners, if you're out there, like Matrix, so reddit.com/r/Matrix is really coming alive. I really hope if any of the mods are listening, like just add an icon for the we have the desktop edition and like the mobile. Like it's so weird, like we deserve like an icon, like we need like a little symbol for the mobile app. And so I want to get your commentary on that. Laz, you really launched into it really well, is things coming up and coming to life, and really looking forward on this beautiful day of like the 18th anniversary of Matrix Reloaded, which was the last time historically when we had something ahead of us. And it had been quite a few years since the last one, so like 99, 2003, that we had no idea. So give us the finger on the pulse of where you're at in the past few years and currently with the Matrix, man.
Well, first, props to you for holding up that was the paperback volume 1. So props to you for being like, that's like, show me you're a hardcore Matrix fan without telling me I'm a hardcore Matrix fan. And that's the thing, at that stage when the comics came out, like you said, we were past Revolutions and Reloaded when, they were letting them out online. But honestly, I didn't even find the comics online until after Revolutions, Reloaded, and Animatrix even.
Yeah.
I was late to that party. And then, like I said, the printed versions came out. But yeah, to rewind the clock all the way back to Reloaded.
Let's go.
Yeah, like you said, I mean, you know, there's a big difference between a 4-year gap and a 20-year gap.
Yes.
But I mean, I was excited for it, and you know, they shot them together. We knew that the third one was coming right after, in the same year. Even it was November, I believe. Revolutions was released, so we knew we were going to get more. And the cliffhanger ending of Reloaded, like, it was just perfect for me. Like, I really like Reloaded. Is arguably my favorite of the three. I mean, I get
you're
the
like
impact
me.
of the original.
Oh my god! I literally just met my brother across the cosmos. That is.
I can't
so
downplay.
Great.
I can't downplay the impact of the original. I get it. I get why people say that's the best one. Classically, when you're talking about filmmaking, when you're comparing it to other films, when you're talking about, you know, how do we tell a story in Hollywood? Yes, the original Matrix checks all the boxes, but that's why I love Reloaded so much, because it was so different. Yeah. And there was just action. Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, yeah. And then you end up in the architect's room and it's like, wait, what?
Exactly. And it's almost as if, so one thing, and you said it so again, you have a real good way with words, man. I don't know. So you do obviously podcasts, right? Like I can tell, like that's something.
Honestly, well, it's funny. I mean, Vesuvius and I have done a few live streams on my channel. Okay. I've been a guest on his podcast. That's the thing. When you talk about podcasting, I've been more a guest. Like, I don't have my own podcast.
Oh, well, I've just been this doing is live yours, man. I've said that. I mean, you are like this is I'm just gonna formally say episode 1 right here, man. You are the co-host. You are. This is it. Like, anytime you want to riff, man, it is the Matrix. We've had Alexander.
Thanks for sharing,
dude. Absolutely.
But that's the thing. Yeah. I just love talking Matrix. Like, if you're just gonna say, okay, we're gonna talk about. Remember, I asked you, I'm like, do you want me to like research anything? Like, we're talking about something specific. Like, no, freestyle. Okay. Freestyle. Like, I can talk about the Matrix for days, so it's not even a big deal.
I think this might be a good time to just shout out to Alexander Hamon. This guy, I sent you some of this.
Oh yeah, you said he liked some of your stuff, right?
Some of the stuff, but also the recent one about just that next life theory. Obviously, people have chimed in saying, Albert, you know, it's actually in the first film that he dies and comes back, and that's self-contained, but he also dies again, obviously, then comes back. So Neo with his resurrections, again, that theme of, you know, return and the revolutions, all of this, and things rebooting and all of this, like, it's all congruent with like how nature works, which is, you know, life, death, rebirth. And then like programs, you know, there's a life cycle to programs, then deleted, and then reconstituted, new data. It's all again, that beautiful indistinguishability between the real and the unreal, which really lends, honestly, this series, like, it's pure timelessness, like philosophically, you know, simulacrum, and it is so good to. And you are, I think, because I can tell probably just from the voice, I don't know, maybe you're doing that cool, amazing, I don't ever age thing, but you seem like you're a bit younger than me, and it just gives me great hope that that it is going to, with especially Matrix 4, Matrix Resurrections, whatever people are calling it, is really paving the way for the continuation of that dialogue, in especially this, like, the first couple of films, man, they were so prescient about how dependent we've become on technology, and how frightening, honestly, that we are very much approaching that. You know, when Morpheus said it, I watched it yesterday, I just sort of threw it on. It is us who darken the sky, you know, and I want maybe speak to that, man, just the idea of the Matrix now, 2021. Go for it.
No, I love the Animatrix reference, because I know I said when I was specific with saying Reloaded was probably my favorite of the live action films, but the Animatrix, it just hit different. I mean, it was, you know, like you said, when you get into the history and the mythology behind the story, it just was very eye-opening. I always recommend that people see it for themselves. But you mentioned Alexander Hamon, and you know, not to get too political, because I don't care. Like, you can, that's cool. I mean, you're in another country, which is even better. Because like, it's so polarizing here right now. And that's the thing. Like, I don't take either side. Like, I think it's all part of that matrix. You know, it's a political matrix. It's its own control system. And that was the beauty of Reloaded, is when you're meeting with the architect and it's like, wait, okay, so the Oracle's a program. It's another system of control. Like, it's just another layer, you know, more to figure out. And that's how I feel like our system is set up. But to circle back to Alexander Hamon, he wrote this piece. I can't remember what article it was for, what magazine it was for, but I did a video on it. It's the Trump video. And he technically, like, he actually called that whole storming on the Capitol thing. He predicted that, and he predicted that from his perspective with the whole Bosnia conflict. He was, front row seat for that. So, I'm glad that was, the end of that violence. But he told us that violence was coming based on his experience in another country. So when you're talking about how the Matrix films parallel real life, and then, like I said, to see him write that article in between, the previous trilogy, and now he's writing for the Matrix 4. I'm so excited for the Matrix 4 because I know they're going to give us something. I know they're going to give us something that we're not going to see coming,
And the thing that we should have opened with it, honestly, is Lana. Man, can you feel that from Lana just throughout this, like, creatively, just even globally, with when we saw, obviously it was leaked, but it's almost like a blessing. We got to see the multicolored code, and it is going to just be this Payan, this direct 1-for-1 of her, like, fully with, like, the mask off of her past life. That idea of complete unification of outer projection, residual self-image and self. It was a layer to the Matrix that we were so unaware of for so long, and it fits. I think honestly she's probably leading from that in wanting to return, because I honestly believe, like, I'm not getting even the faintest bits of this being anything to do with, like, cash grab, trying to This is just
I don't smell cash grab.
Exactly. God of War, I do the God of War podcast too, and we talked about how it's like, what would have been this thing of Kratos with that established, like, oh, that's just what God of War is, this sort of masculine, over hyper masculine power fantasy stuff. And then for to look at it, and Corey said, look, no, I've grown, like, as a father. I had, like, a film career like build and then vanish under my feet, and it was just this, like, the best of art is as an outlet for like the human condition, for what you're going through, and putting something and channeling very important personal feelings into something timeless that can be universal and related to from all kinds of angles. And who can't relate to that idea of that finding of one's identity? And that's why, all the filming we've seen, I don't know, like, spoiler alert to people, but we will discuss. Are you happy with discussing a bit of leaks, just the set leaks and stuff of Matrix?
Oh yeah, 4? I mean, I put as many videos of San Francisco footage as I can find up, so you're not going to offend me. I do understand where some people are like, oh, don't talk to me about it, I don't want any spoilers.
No, that's cool.
And from where I'm sitting, like, just looking at all this stuff, I'm like, well, you can't really tell what's going on. I mean, they're not, and this is all pre-production, like, stuff we saw. All that stuff could have been cut. All those could have been test shots for all we know.
Shots, deception, who knows? But
exactly right, misdirection, like
misdirection. But as much as let's, like, going off of that, is like, I have not seen Neo look like Neo. There's a sense of the Neo behind the Neo, like, he looks a bit bedraggled, like you can sense that he's embodying him, and obviously on the bike there with Carrie, but there's a sense, like, he's got the beard and everything, and it's like, the curtain has lifted off, and who knows if, again, that the big question is how deep do the layers of control go? Is there ever really, Elon Musk joked about on SNL a couple of days ago, are we living in a simulation? That's not, we can't brush that aside. Like, it's still something that people bring up, about that idea of the hyper indistinguishable from reality simulation thing. I love that that's still something that because it's so important to remain aware of the possibilities and not to just follow programming. Obviously it's a parable, it's got that science fiction veneer, but the core message, like with Tool, like with so many of the entities of advocacy for free thought, free speech, it's so important to like liberate your, like, free your mind, like that's the kind of adage of it, but to only way is to free yourself. I think definitely go for it.
Well, hold that thought about freeing your mind, because I want to circle back to that, because you did mention the hairstyles. And just real quick, at the end of Berlin, that's when Keanu Reeves shaved his head and went completely bald.
That's true, actually. Yeah.
Which, potential spoiler alert, could show that he has a reawakening and that he's, like, back in the tubes or the pods or whatever you want to call them.
If he gets put back in the tubes, man, what would that be for you symbolically?
I think symbolically, I mean, that's one of the plot lines of the Matrix Online. We don't know what happened to his remains. The whole death of Morpheus was that he demanded the machines give back his remains, and they did not do that. So for all we know, they reinserted him into the Matrix, like Cypher requested. So that would play towards that when we saw that picture. Also, more recently, this year, 2021, there is a shot of Keanu Reeves and Carrie-Anne Moss in CGI marker gear. And now the first shot, he's got, the scruff. Yeah. But I did see him in Berlin a couple of days after that with the more original Neo haircut, like a shorter haircut.
Okay.
So I don't know if they're doing reshoots. I don't know if, you know what I mean? For all we know, they could be shooting a Neo video game. I don't know.
Buddy, they're not. Did you just careful? Because I'm going to I can't. We will go for 4 hours if we talk about them developing. Because Keanu did.
I'm not ruling it out, man.
The pieces are there because Cyberpunk, he visited Kojima Productions.
Dude, that's what made me think about it, because I saw the pictures of him in similar CGI gear for Cyberpunk. So I'm like, right, he's recently done this. This is not out of his wheelhouse. It could happen. Dude,
you just got me going.
I was saying that way. Yeah,
I'm going to be thinking about that all day. That's a gift from you to me. I have to reciprocate it somewhere, dude. And yeah, so that's what I mean. Also, we're seeing this from WB, and I'm just gonna talk some very well earned sugar to WB with Dune, with Godzilla versus Kong, which admittedly complete surface level. You obviously have the 50s version about the metaphor for like Hiroshima and stuff. But honestly, like WB and even Mortal Kombat, I'll throw that in. Like they just have there's just a sense of this respect for source material. Dune, for example, like it's coming out soon. This idea of Dune and there's some shared DNA between like just some of that philosophical existential stuff with and spiritual stuff between Dune and the Matrix. But one thing I'm seeing, I just want to give this to like people who are hyping out with Laz and I, like with talking about games, talking about ancillary media and stuff. Let me just say, so I've seen some of this through the Dune podcast stuff I do. I've seen some of the stuff that they're doing alongside around, the Funcom game coming out, for example. Like, look to all of WB's other avenues that they're doing. They're exploring Harry Potter, blah, whatever. Like, they're going to do streaming series. I'm just going to say, obviously, a Matrix streaming series is a fucking shoe-in. Okay, Laz? Like,
I can back you up. I can back you up with I believe it's the future of the Matrix video. It's probably from this time last year, but I've got a quote from the CEO of Village Roadshow. He did not specifically say that they were doing a Matrix streamer, but what he did say is post-pandemic, because everything had already happened, that that's an avenue that they are certainly preparing for. So he didn't give us a promise, but I think if the Matrix 4 does well, that should be expected.
You said it there, and you have the Sisterhood coming alongside Dune. You have, I think WB is also Batman. You have Gotham coming out for that, and it's a shoe-in. It's this thing of what I think will be additive and add depth to it. And frankly, like look at, for example, the 99 film, which, by the way, mini story for me, I watched The Matrix for the first time on VHS in Italy. I was a tiny little kid. I want to get your like first point of contact with Matrix, because it is episode 1. And it completely fucking went over my head. I was like, I don't understand, And so I actually took a few extra years to like watch it again. And then it was honestly the lead up to Reloaded. It's a special film for me, Reloaded. I learned half of my martial arts that I do off of just fucking copying, especially that opening scene. Like I learned my roundhouse from repeating those scenes, and I do capoeira because of fucking some of the amazing burly brawl stuff. This was before a lot of I would say the gigantic turned up to 11 amplification of jadedness and closed-mindedness and rage culture since like the 2012s. Because back then I just don't remember there being that much like there's that furor around the quality of the sequels. It's like they were literally going for something different. Like as you said, it was action, like a big chunk of like 70-80%, and then just fucking philosophy at the end, like a little coda with the architect,
and like we were talking about with the martial arts, I mean, they give credit to Wu Ping and all the wire work and taking that aspect of the old was it Golden Harvest, like the kung fu flicks, Jackie Chan. Yes. I mean, they give credit to that influence, but at that time we hadn't seen it in a major Hollywood film, not like that.
But Laz, I'm gonna just, because we're in hype mode. I wasn't expecting to get on the fucking hype mode highway with you. I fucking love you, man. So
that's like I said, we could talk Matrix forever, man. This is what I do.
So I'm gonna give you a little preview, because I like to kind of do mind's eye cinema. You do realize that. So obviously we're holding true to December. I'm absolutely accepting for if they delay for any reason, it's fine.
Right. Same.
Yeah.
Honestly, when I saw the marker stuff, like I said, if they're making a video game, cool. But if they're not, if it is reshoots, I would expect a delay. We don't know what it is. We don't know what it is.
But I will say, say it holds true. We go off of what we know, and then we pivot, we vibe, etc.
Right. For right now, we're planning for December.
Play for December. So I'm just want to say, so in about 4-ish months, obviously we have SDCC. We could be possibly getting. Go? I know the teaser trailer. Sorry, the teaser poster at SDCC would be. Well, but it would be.
And that's the thing. Okay, so.
Yeah.
We talked about the leaks earlier. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm impatient for a trailer. I want to see it as much as the next man, if not more. But there's been like this kind of radio silence these last few months. Like even the actors aren't even doing interviews, which is weird because they were doing interviews and then all of a sudden no one's saying anything. Yeah, but when you consider the leaks from San Francisco, I mean, we kind of got a trailer already.
Oh yeah, that's actually true. so
we saw a lot of action so far. Yeah.
So for me, I just like to give timelines to get the hype going. Because do you know about my hype philosophy, by the way? I don't know.
No, you gotta
share. That was a rhetorical. So I have there's 4 stages. Hype philosophy. Okay. So you go, if you choose not to hype, right, and the thing doesn't happen, you get literally nothing out of it because you didn't participate, you weren't in it and stuff. If you choose to hype and the thing didn't happen, well, at least you got some fucking hype out of it, which is always fun, you know?
Right, you had fun building up.
You
didn't know it wasn't coming, so right.
That's right. And so then if you didn't hype, but then the thing does happen, it's like, okay, well, it happened, but you didn't get to hype out about it. But then option number 4, motherfucker, is if you hype and the thing fucking happens, like we are manifesting it now collectively.
Right, you get the full ride. Yeah.
Get the full ride. And so then, okay, so that's why, like, why the fuck not? Like, life is short. We're getting a photoreal PS5 RPG, fucking Red Dead Matrix, fucking Horizon Zero Matrix, whatever, God of War, like that's happening. And then the series, again, we're not pulling it out of like fanboyish, I hate that word. It's like, it's about what's measurable, what's observable. He does have like, as if he'd be with CD Projekt Red and not networking about the Matrix. It's like literally, and obviously your friend, amazing, can't wait to have him on the show. That congruence of video game, you know, and like the Avatar folks, for example, I do Avatar too. I spoke with one of the designers in the sequels. They're doing right now, they're using the same assets for those films in the game that they're developing with Ubisoft and stuff. And so 1000% we're going to have like, okay, we'll just drag and drop because of PS5, like a Sentinel, boom, into this PS5 game. It's gonna be insane, dude. And then like the character posters in like August, it's like you'll have Neo, you'll have Niobe. Who knows what Niobe looks like nowadays? How fucking cool is that Jada's coming back?
You saying that actually reminds me of the last flight of the Osiris, because the Final Fantasy team is who made that Animatrix episode, and like you said, they were sent the CGI modeling for the Sentinels, the Diggers, all that different stuff. So that's why it looks like it could just be a scene in the film, and that's another thing that gives that Animatrix episode an extra layer, is the fact that it is tied in directly to the events right before the Matrix Reloaded.
You said it, and guess who's joining? We summoned him. We summoned him from the
big V
digital ether.
Audio.
What is going on? Welcome, my friend. How you doing?
Good. Thanks for having me.
No, it's an honor, man. I've just been vibing with your friend over here. It's like literally like brothers from other mothers. It's so cool, and I expect nothing different from you. Your reputation precedes you with the Matrix Online. We were just discussing how we are very much like feasibly looking at potentially no, let's get rid of potential. Like, it's happening. Let's fucking manifest it.
Right now. AC manifested your appearance, so he's definitely gonna manifest this new Matrix game.
It happens, man. Put it into the digital ether, man. Is this
the idea Matrix is strong in you?
It is. And so you're doing that by holding that flame alive for the Matrix, keeping that dialogue going about, like, it makes so much sense for this of all franchises, because it is computers, because it is like, you know, and that's why Avatar, like, again, it's a bit of a video gamey thing where you embody this thing, and that's why that fits for that. Ubisoft are doing that, but I want to see it, man. Like Vesuvius, we're going to see on social media, we're manifesting it. Fucking Rockstar, fucking someone will be like, yeah, it's been a secret. We've been developing it. Keanu worked things out with CD Projekt Red. We're using the same assets from Matrix 4. Fucking like pushing you on the spot, like fucking Trial by Fire Vesuvius. What would you want to see in a modern version of the Matrix Online, or something like a third-person RPG? Go for it, man.
Oh, well, I think the Matrix Online was very lofty in its goals. So considering I kind of lived through that and didn't quite live up to the hype, I'd like to see the Matrix Online lived up to the hype, even if it's got to be rebuilt from the ground up, because we had everything. We had everything except for Neo, but that was kind of built in. I know Neo is the central character in the Matrix franchise, but in the Matrix Online game, there was a reason that he wasn't there. He had died. So it made sense for him. Plus, that was a void for the players to fill. All right, everyone tried to be the most powerful player, and the savior of their organization. So I would like to see the Matrix Online actually succeed and come to fruition.
Okay, that's very, very, very eloquently put. I think that's very measured. I can sense that you have the backing of like having been exposed to it, having like been immersed in it. And what's great is, so I haven't actually, sadly, I haven't actually gotten around to playing it. But here's the thing, is with what I mentioned before about Keanu with Cyberpunk. And some of the stuff where, like, honestly, I'm getting the vibe from Keanu that he is literally up and ready right now for anything. Like, he's making his own, he's doing Berserker, he's writing stuff. And so also Lana, I sense that too. And WB, for example, like we were just saying earlier, can I call Vesuvius or V? Is V cool? I'll just call you V.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah, that's cool.
There's a sense that they're ready. Like, let's go. Let's fucking like make the quintessential, like the version of it. And I'm absolutely certain that with what we have now compared to back then, it was like 2003 when it launched, the Matrix Online, man, the infrastructure we have now, how everything, Twitch, like imagine something where they take that concept and it's like, maybe look at Destiny, like they jumped from game to game, they carried that community over, and the V's of the world would join this hypothetical thing and it would fit fucking perfectly. We're speeding towards 5G into 6G. It really is like things are being paved. The way is being paved for something where, the Matrix, sorry, the Avatar thing, like that's what they promise is like you'll just be able to go to Pandora or whatever. It's like, okay, well, the Matrix right here, like the world, like it's even probably arguably easier because you're using assets to resemble, I guess, 1999 if they're gonna do that. Although let's fucking open that up, Laz. The Matrix as we'll return to it now, will it be the 1999 or will it be like modern times? Like, what do you think?
Well, real quick, since we're going over acceptable nicknames, is it cool if I call you AC, Albert?
You can call me AC. Cool? Go for it.
Okay. So, all right. So to answer your question, right. So we talked about Alexander Hemon a little bit, but David Mitchell, he actually in an interview did say that, you can kind of ignore the fact that like cell phones are the thing and there's no more payphones, or you can write it into the script. And he said that they did write it into the script and they wrote in that 20 years has passed. So like I said, Lana Wachowski's involved. We know that there's no Lily, but I do believe that when you ask the 1999 reference, I believe that it's going to be different than the other three. I think it's going to have a different look, a different feel, honestly, based on the art that I've seen, with Tom Twyker being involved in this, and he was on Cloud Atlas. There's a lot of people who are part of the production team from Cloud Atlas. There was a lot of people and actors even from Sense8, which I did watch on Netflix. Yeah, and I think it's going to feel like The Matrix meets Sense8, if that makes sense.
I think so. Yeah, definitely. What's your riff on that, V?
Well, with the cell phones, it kind of makes sense to reflect where we are now and actually have cell phones. And there's been a lot of debate on whether they're going to be able to jack in and jack out of the Matrix through the cell phones. So, when you mention where our technology is going, that all could reflect in the movie. And I think that would be, very cool. If they do keep it where there's no cell phones, I mean, that's fine too. I mean, we could just cough that up to a glitch in the Matrix. Yeah. Say, well, technology has stopped because, we have to kind of slow them down a little bit so that we can execute our grand plan.
And I just wanted to throw that in there because you mentioned the cell phone thing and the debates about this, and you're saying, it could be glitch in the Matrix if there are no cell phones. But on the flip side, it wasn't only payphones. Like, they had hardline phones in, abandoned, what was that, like an appliance store that they jacked in for the
The TV
Oracle?
repair shop.
Yeah.
TV repair shop. Thank you. So you see what I'm saying? Like hard lines are still a thing. I get it. They're not as popular. A lot of people have voice over internet protocol. I get that. But they still sell hard lines. They still exist.
That's right. You've got me thinking now all kinds of things of this. Frankly, I mean, Lana, to come back and say, look, tackling the subject matter with the context and the trappings and the, as you said, this idea of being able to kind of, that would make honestly things much more fast paced, I guess, with being able to jack in, jack out through these smartphones. Like that is quite an endeavor to just sort of look and say, actually, let's revisit this concept now. It's very brave, actually, creatively. That she easily could have rode on the laurels of the trilogy and leave it be. But I can see her saying with this awakening of herself, like, as I was saying V earlier, just about how honestly the soul of this film will be Lana, will be this commentary, which is now fully out there of what it means to be your actual true self, the merging of self with residual self-image. And what's interesting is when we look at Neo at the start of like the 99 film, he doesn't have the long hair and the beard, but say if you added an extra 20 years on him, he probably in that same hacker room, he would have that. Like, and so I kind of like the idea of us revisiting Thomas Anderson as we saw him before being the one, and Alexander Himan very kindly he follows and he likes the Matrix podcast stuff over on Instagram, and I put this line of dialogue, it's the Oracle saying, it's like you're waiting for something, and in another life perhaps. And I kind of put out there, look, hey, in December we'll see what that other life was, and he liked that, and I posted that to the Reddit, and I was like, it could be nothing, it could be something. And what I really think with in particular with just like focusing on Neo, because and I don't want to ruffle any feathers here. Like, I believe Neo will be very important, but I want to open up the floor to you guys to talk about who's stepping into this story, the younger cast, what the promise is of going on from here with going into the next generation and such. I think I'll throw it to V, and then we'll circle to Laz. Go for it. Stunned into silence. I like it. Contemplative.
Well, yeah. So, yeah. No, I just had an interruption. So
that's okay. That's all right. You had an agent. It's all good. You sorted it out. That's fine. All good. Just that notion, and yet just to kind of rephrase is going forward. I mean, obviously, like Neo's here, it's going to be wonderful to see Keanu as Neo, and in many ways, he's like the icon of the franchise at the moment. But I am very, if not even more, excited to see who's stepping into this story, especially younger generations. To keep this story going forward and this dialogue about freeing yourself from control. It's such an important dialogue. So, who do you think stepping into this story? What do you reckon?
Okay, so who do we have here for the new cast?
Well,
Laz,
yeah.
Who do we got?
Who do we
Where
have?
you want me to start? We want to start with Sense8. You got Arundhira Ibarra, Toby Onwumere. I'm forgetting Wolfgang's real name.
Those are the younger ones. We also have Neil Patrick and we have Priyanka. Those will be interesting to see who they connect to. That'll be interesting.
Yeah, Abdul Mateen.
Yeah.
And Jessica Henwick from Iron Fist.
Yes, Jessica. Yes.
She's supposed to have a pretty big role.
So let me start with Jessica and Yahya. First, Yahya is a fantastic actor. The guy's got the look. Okay, he could play anything, and I think he'll be a main character as well as Jessica. Now, I've got to take it back to the Matrix Online because it just looks like it fits. Neo has to be sought after. Okay, it's a race to find the one all over again. Okay, it's going to be a little bit different. Obviously, it's not the video game, but it certainly looks like there's going to be a race to find the one. Someone's going to try and find Neo. Someone's going to try to find Trinity. It might be the next generation of heroes, or it might be the opposition, or it might be the exiles. So I think that's what we're going to get. I hope I get not only what I want, but hopefully what I don't expect in this movie.
Should we, Laz? I think we should do a bit of I call it the Hideaki Anno disclaimer, right? So because I do Evangelion as well, and they have some connected DNA, these two as well. We're talking about this. possibilities and stuff. And I love that there's just this absence. And again, I was saying to Laz earlier, V, I love when there's no information. I very much don't kind of vibe with that whole thing of like, we want trailers. And it's like, for me, it's I see it as an invitation to go into all kinds of tangential and like adjacent subject matter. And with Hideaki Anno, like, he has this thing of oh yeah, so all your expectations and hopes and dreams, fuck off. Like, he'll just like throw them. And like Rockabode from we at one point definitely got to get him on the show over at Mega 64. He talks about the very real potential of this being a pretty heady kind of like take the architect conversation and like give no fucks, like amplify that. And like obviously there'll be action and stuff, but I would be actually really open to it being this like cerebral. I would love for it to be in that direction. Like is there anything, I guess we can say, is that talking about expectations, is what would each of you kind of want to see in terms of that balance of the action and that cerebral aspect? I'll throw it to Laz.
Okay, so kind of like what we talked about before when you were giving us the 4 stages of hype.
Yeah. Thank you.
When it comes to this particular question, like, I don't have an expectation. Like, I waited 20 years for another one, so I'm just happy that we're back excited about the Matrix. And because Lana's involved, and because I'm a big credits guy. Like I said, I'm looking at who worked on what, and the team she's put together. It's not going to be trash. Like, there's no way. It's going to be at least okay. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's on a bad day. Yeah. I mean, I think it's going to be really good. But we won't see till we get there. But again, I'm looking at the actors we just rattled off and the chemistry. You know what I mean? There's already chemistry between Keanu, Carrie Ann, and Jada Pinkett Smith, and then you have chemistry between the Sense 8 cast who work together, and that almost is the bridge to pass the torch right there. Yeah. So you know what I mean? Just from a teamwork standpoint, I think it's going to be fantastic. But more specifically, like when you're looking at the writers, because originally it was Lily and Lana writing everything, and now Lana has Alexander Himon and David Mitchell in the writing room, who in their own right have really become powerhouse writers on their own. So now you're putting all 3 of those minds together to write this script. I think it's gonna be great.
You said it. V, any riffs on that? Go for it. Yeah, go for it.
Well, I do hope, and the only thing I'll mention about the Matrix Online in this little thing is that I just hope it remains canon, because I really enjoyed that story.
I think it will. I think Path of Neo
having said
canon,
that,
right?
I think it's mostly canon, except for like the ending was like a little bit of fun.
Yeah.
But as far as I'd love to see some big explosions, and I want to see some combat. I really like where they went with the John Wick combat, because I'm a very big mixed martial arts fan. So since I've kind of done a little bit of mixed martial arts, now when I get into and I see big movies and the physics is off a little bit, and I'm kind of like, that punch wouldn't really hurt. Like, I want to see good combat, and I don't mind the stylized and the fancy stuff. I really like the Chateau fight, because he incorporated some flight and some weapons, and fought multiple opponents. So I want to see a lot of cool combat, and I want to see some explosions.
You've taken me back, because they were filming it here in Australia at the time, and I was training. I was like watching it. I was like, surely they have to do some pickups, and I was like practicing. I was like, I'll fucking go to Sydney. I'll see if they need people. It was crazy. You just made me kind of do some halcyon remembering. But we mentioned Indira and Jessica, right? So I think Jessica, she's been in Star Wars, I think, as like one of the pilots, I think.
Yes, absolutely, that's correct.
That's right. Yeah.
Last Jedi, maybe.
The Last Jedi. That's right. One of the pilots. Yeah. I would love to. I love to just mind's eye cinema this shit. Like a fight scene with them. Seeing them. For example, like I want to see more of. The twins are one of my favorite characters. Again, Evangelion. I love that. I just love the idea of very quirky, interesting riffs on the classic martial arts scene, and the idea of this programs that can like duplicate one another and like act as one and like fight in the same kind of sync. Like, imagine with like modern CG. Obviously these people had issues back in the day with the photorealism of back then, but back to what we were talking about with how feasible it will be to just photogrammetry that stuff, to do like, you know, we're a couple of years after what they did with Tarkin, for example, in Rogue One. Just the potential in the and I really think Lana like didn't take any of that too much CG shit. Like, she's like, I fucking told the story that was there, I needed to tell it with the tools that I had. So I actually fuck it, it's time. I'm gonna share my fucking Matrix dream that I had this like 4 months ago, and I told my fiance, I was like, I dreamt of like Neo in like, it was just all white. You know how there's that scene in in the first Matrix where it's like, oh, this is just like, it's where we like summon stuff or whatever. It was
the
white.
construct, yeah.
The construct, exactly. But then it would pan over and there would be like shapes way in the distance. And it's like some shit's happening in the construct verse. And so things like, you can see almost like Grecian marble coming out of the construct. And I just remember seeing like books, like piles of books and stuff. It was really fucking surreal. It was completely different. It was very dreamlike, you know? And like, we've seen the Matrix, we've seen the construct, we've seen certain spaces, but I would be so interested to see like the chateau. I loved the palette change we got with that, like marble and stuff. Like, it was very different from the buildings of the first one, you know? So would you guys be open for going into a bit more of the surreal? Like, for example, like in Bloodborne, like there's a place that like there's columns that go up forever and stuff. Like, what is your comfort level while still staying true to the Matrix of like surrealistic environments where maybe the Matrix is trying to figure out what it is and it doesn't quite know how to represent the real world, if they're like dreamlike pockets of the Matrix, just for the purposes of like, you know, Doctor Strange did some of this, like jumping between platforms and like how, but still keeping it the Matrix. What do you reckon, Laz? What would you be comfortable with?
Well, what's interesting, you talking about having a Matrix dream. I mean, I've had many Matrix dreams, especially while playing the Matrix Online, but that's a whole other chapter.
Future episodes, buddy.
Right, exactly. That's a whole other conversation. But what I did want to say is, because someone actually commented this on my channel, so it's not like this big secret. Others have noticed, but the logo that I use, the green logo, that Japanese symbol, that's actually the kanji for the word dream. So for me, the dream aspect of the Matrix is always been a core part of the story, and just that kind of, you know, how do we know if we're sleeping or dreaming? And, you know, I do believe that there's going to be some of that, you know, and we mentioned Neo's bald head and all that. And also they gave away that plaque, the plaque for the hovercraft in the Matrix 4. The name of that hovercraft was Mnemosyne, and that's the Greek goddess for remembrance, memory.
There you go.
Right. Yeah. So, you know, when you're going to ask me about dreams, I mean, I can't tell you that I know where this is going to go, but I definitely feel as though that dream aspect, that haze, again, with Tom Twyker, before Cloud Atlas, he actually did the cinematography for Vanilla Sky with Tom Cruise.
There you go.
And that's another, you know what I mean? Like dream reality. So I think, I mean, it might not be with the construct, it might, but I think that there's definitely going to be like the kind of visuals that you were talking about in your dream. I mean, don't be surprised if we see some similar Lana version of that in the Matrix 4.
You said it.
The groundwork's there. The groundwork is there.
You said it. V, any riffs on that?
Well, I was going to say, you know, as a Matrix fan, I got to kind of take a step back, and because whatever Lana Wachowski says is going to happen in the Matrix is what's going to happen in the Matrix. I'm gonna find ways to make that fit with what I believe, and eventually expand my understanding of this franchise accordingly. But you know, when you talk about dream movies, there was another one that I thought was really, really special, and that was Eternal Sunshine on a Spotless Mind. And when I was talking to somebody about this movie, it's like that, watching that movie gave me the feeling of dreaming. Okay, just some of the visuals and the tones of it. So if you haven't seen that, that's definitely worth 2 hours of your time. It's definitely worth the watch. Excellent. But you know, when you start talking about like, oh, it'll look, you know, dreamlike, that, you know, that's kind of what I hope for. I did enjoy Vanilla Sky. It took me a couple of watchings to understand that. But,
tech support.
I have something to throw into the mix because you've both inspired me. So you're both also extremely. I'm very unfettered with this. You're amazing co-hosts. Like you are so great with picking things up, expanding them, going on tangents. So like credit to you both. Like we've been practicing. Yeah, you guys are great.
It's all leading up to this.
Yeah, for sure. You said it, and then beyond, for sure. I want to say so to kind of again to the people, I don't know, pushing their prams or like mowing their lawn. I'm just gonna put this out there. We are gonna see a Matrix film, a post Doctor Strange, post Inception, post Tenet Matrix film. And as we know, one of the core things of the Matrix that we associate with is that they innovate, at least in some way, if not just what's on screen, the techniques of the filmmaking. We know that Cameron's doing some stuff with underwater motion capture, that kind of stuff. We know that with obviously bullet time, that's like one of the core things of the identity, pop culture wise, published like zeitgeist wise of the Matrix. I am so curious, and I want to open the floor up to this, of not the idea of like necessarily needing to outdo Doctor Strange or outdo Inception or whatever, but I frankly believe Lana is about to look and just go to those and say, that's cute. Okay, well, let me show you how the OG does it, and like let's take it to the new level in a completely other way. So want to open that up to the floor. V, go for it.
Yeah, when you mentioned Avatar before, I was thinking, now I didn't love Avatar, but it's kind of up my alley. And I think the reason why is because it came after The Matrix. I very few movies since The Matrix has blown my mind. I've enjoyed lots of movies, but it was just a different feeling with The Matrix. The Matrix may have absolutely busted my cherry for any kind of mind blowing.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, man.
But what were we saying?
That's okay, man. No, it's cool.
Talking about bullet time and just the look, like
effects. Yes.
Yeah. Effects. Yeah. Post Inception. Post all the Christopher Nolan stuff.
Yeah.
I think music would have probably a lot to do with that. Just going back and rewatching the movies. There was another movie I was watching where I was like, wow, the music makes this so much better. Oh, you know what it was? It was Infinity War when, it was Infinity War when Thanos throws someone off the cliff there. I don't want to throw any spoilers out.
Yeah.
But I was like, without this music, it would be completely different. But the music really, really makes, these are characters that I didn't know, I didn't read these comics when I was a kid. I don't care about these characters. They're sea level at best. And I'm sitting there watching this movie for like the 20th time, and I'm like kind of feeling something. I'm like, it's because of the music.
Yeah.
And I really hope that we get a killer Matrix score and soundtrack again.
Well, no, since you brought up the importance of music, I want to make a correction here because I'm all about accurate information. I said Tom Twyker did the cinematography for Vanilla Sky. That's actually John Tall. Tom Twyker. Yeah. Tom Twyker did co-direct Cloud Atlas with Lana and Lily, and he's doing the music for Matrix 4. So he is involved. I got that part right, but just a different title. But to answer your question.
Yeah, no, actually, I didn't mean to interrupt. All I want to say is Don Davis did amazing work on the.
Yeah, a lot of people are upset that he's not back.
That's okay.
That's fair. That's
just
fair.
sending him good vibes, but didn't mean to interrupt.
Exactly. Oh, he's still doing well. He's still getting work.
That's cool.
But yeah, to answer your question, I believe it was Jessica Henwick said that she saw camera rigs on the set in Berlin that she's never seen before.
Right there,
and
the fucking hype.
Neil Patrick Harris said that there's a lot of practical shots. So just taking those little teeny tiny clues and trying to piece them together to predict something.
There you go.
I think we're going to see looks that we haven't seen before. Is it going to be as revolutionary as bullet time? Who knows? I don't think so, but we'll see. Lana's very creative. But what I will say is because of the influence that she had on the staff and with working with the stunt, the 8711 crew, who was responsible for the John Wick series, and because Keanu Reeves is in that, and they kind of cross collaborate, I think what we're going to see is a John Wick paced action, but with less jump cutting. It's not going to be like these quick slices. It's just, the camera's just going to flow. You know what I mean? Like in real time. That's just my guess of the little clues that the actors gave us.
Okay, I can dig that. Yeah, and it's so interesting. So the first film, with this thing of the now iconic, obviously, the storm, the raiding of the building to rescue Morpheus. Like there's almost some proto John Wick aspects there with just the amount of guns. First of all, it was very gun driven, that first one for sure. It was obviously before he developed his powers of being able to stop bullets and stuff. There's obviously the appeal that I would love of wanting to get back in the game and like training back up kind of thing, of seeing him regain his powers. That would be interesting. Again, all these directions that it can go in. But I love, again, hearing little quotes, as little hints like that. Just gives us the little nudges. It's like the little adjustments on the steering wheel, like knowing where we're going, because it is just this matrix code fog we're all driving in this hype train, you know. But I really dig that, and I think, yeah, so especially with the Berlin stuff, so now it's so interesting. So they chose Berlin, right? And I just want to say, so like that had to be deliberate. Obviously, I don't think the Matrix, like they chose, I mean, there was the subsidies and stuff with Australia when they filmed here. But Australia, like with the cities, there's like a certain look, right? Of like with Sydney, it is like the, you know, the megalopolis, that kind of thing. And honestly, like filming in that complete separate country, it gives me the sense that it just, from a palette point of view, from a vibe point of view, it is just going to be so like palpably different, just like the setting, like you're
right, yeah, it's gonna look
like a
different.
European Matrix, yeah. And like with the Merovingian, we haven't even talked about him coming back.
Absolutely.
Let's go a cold drop, like on the spot. The Merovingian, Matrix 4, go for it.
Yeah, Merovingian, you know, at some points you don't get a cooler character.
Yeah.
He's smart, he's cunning, he can curse in French. I mean, and he's got a character for every needed situation. Okay, his arsenal of exiles are everything that's inside Batman's utility belt and more.
That's very well put, for sure.
And he actually had a really, really large role in the Matrix Online. Like his character was key.
Honestly, I want to just again really reiterate, like there's just too many signs for it not to be, frankly, how it really seems like it will eventually be, which is taking what this established, and again, it's multi-year, the canon that was developed for Matrix Online. I just don't see them chucking a Disney, you know, and the Matrix Legends, you know, and if they do, I think Lana will be respectful, and in some way the reboot will be canon. Like it's like that may actually be. Yeah, go ahead, Les.
Well, since you brought up the word canon, V and I we did like a long live stream just going over each item of the Matrix universe, you know, each individual comic, each video game, each Animatrix episode, and gave our opinion on what's canon and what is not. And the list of non-canon, real short. I'm talking count on one hand, less than 5. I think they do a great job of letting their co-collaborators create within the Matrix universe without undoing or retconning what's already there.
Yeah, it really lends itself to that. Frankly, honestly, when you have that digital aspect, when you have that idea of reboots and glitches, man, you know, a lot of canons wish they had glitches in their canons. Like,
right.
Oh yeah, so and so that birthday, it was a glitch. Like J.K. Rowling probably fucking dreams of being able to have glitches in her universe whenever she makes a mistake or wants to, reverse engineer some new plot element. It's all possible within the Matrix. And
it's just very malleable. Yeah,
very malleable. And I'm just gonna say, like, this comes from love, right? We saw the Matrix achieve something in the early 2000s in terms of, zeitgeist, in the commercials, on the billboards and stuff. And then it receded. In many ways, you can almost see it a bit like Avatar in that way, where it's like still there's a presence of it, but it's like a lower kind of hum. It's in the periphery, in the background. But honestly, and I say this as like a really like from a place of love challenge, it's like I want to see the Matrix fully step even more into this, as Laz and I, we kicked this recording off about, like, let's get people really, the self-sustaining flames, like the V's and the Lazes of the world, let's get unified and like really amplify that signal. And this is what we're doing, signal boosting, and really like create that longevity so that after Matrix 4, the party keeps going. The dialogue, again, the core of these films will always be that free your mind dialogue, and whatever ancillary media takes shape around that, board games, novels. I would love to see different authors. I think Lana would be so open to, a whole different team of people taking on this streaming series, The Matrix, hypothetically, although very, very likely manifesting.
Yeah, I think it's very likely, yeah.
Yeah, and so novels and everything, but it is coming up to the hour and a half that we're about to be recording for.
Oh, wow. Are you serious?
I know. It's crazy. I feel like, again, just complete brothers, siblings across the cosmos, or the program, man, the ethosphere. It's been so rad speaking with you both. Damn. Cool. Well, what the hell is on for your rest of your day, V? What's going on? What time is it over there?
I'm in New York. It's about 5 p.m. So it's going to be dinner time and putting little ones to bed.
Aww.
And maybe getting a little bit more Instagram time before I drift off.
Excellent, man. Well, I'll edit this one up very quick, and I'll actually put out a couple of clips, when it's like, you've spoken about Matrix Online. I'll just put like, hey, yeah, Vesuvius speaks about Matrix Online in relation to 2021. And I love doing that, like creating the Zoom masks. It'll be a good time. That's my rest of the day. But Laz, my man, what's the rest of your day?
Oh, so right after this, I'm going to finish the thumbnail and upload the review of or I guess it's more of a narration or summary of the Miller's Tale Matrix comic. I've been doing one Matrix comic a week, trying to get them all done before the movie's released.
Nice.
So that way, anybody who missed out and wants to try to play catch up can check that out before the movie comes out. But real quick, I didn't want to forget, because I wrote a little note here. You mentioned freeing your mind earlier, and I wanted to come back to that. Because when you talk about the Matrix trilogy and freeing your mind, like we said, we did mention that the original film is like the most classic in its, production, execution, everything. With Reloaded, you get, and this is by design. I've heard the Wachowskis talk about this. And the second one, it's the deconstruction. It's like deconstructionist philosophy. It takes apart everything you thought you knew from the first one. And that's why, like, a lot of people are like, well, what is this? I don't like this. I reject this, because
I love deconstruction. It's great.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the thing. And then Revolutions is almost a reconstruction, but it allows you, it doesn't answer everything, so it allows you to come up with your own answers. And I think that's why I love talking about the Matrix trilogy, why I recommend it to people. I think it's a good mental exercise. I think it's healthy for us to be in the practice of breaking things down and putting them back together and seeing what's there when we put it back together. Sometimes those foundational pieces are still there and you can trust them, and sometimes it's like, wait, I shouldn't trust that. And I think that's really healthy for us as, like mature adults to do. But when you now bring this to the Matrix 4, where a lot of people think that, oh, the Matrix 4 is going to answer all these questions that we had from the original trilogy, I go the other direction. I go way left. I think it's going to give us new questions that will allow this franchise to, like you said, pass the torch and create even more. So
new questions, you said it there. And this idea of being a 360 entity that is so free and self-secure enough to look at things from complete other angles, complete other perspectives, and not hem yourself into just a limited slice of the pie of your own kind of viewpoint on life. And as you said, deconstructing, reconstructing, it is always a mark of the most well-rounded, self-secure minds, that they are absolutely open to whatever comes. That's not something of, people often they rush to judge about, like, oh, you're just happy with whatever they'll do because you're like, you love them no matter what. It's like, no, I value my own ability to be open-minded and to assess this from the angle that it's coming at me from, and then scooping around the other side and like looking at it from that point of view. And I think honestly, you're getting the most. Both of you are living so well right now. Like, time is ticking. Who knows what happens in the future? It's like, by being so open-minded, you're literally letting all of life in. And like the fact that we have, media like the Matrix to launch those discussions as a platform, this sci-fi veneer, whatever, but it is just the human condition. And it's so important to be, as you're living, really valuing that sense of, hey, like, being open. So like, I just respect the hell out of both of you for that, for sure.
Yeah, well, thanks for having us.
No worries. Okay, well, let's I'm gonna pencil in something for let's maybe do like a monthly thing or whatever. By the way, I low-key V made like that's it. Laz is the co-host, right? V, you are also the co-host of the Matrix podcast. It's right there, no pressure. It's just, you're both perfect for this, I reckon. So obviously there's never, with me, any of the stuff I do, never any pressure. But for me, you guys are the hosts of this podcast. I produce it, I join with, but I couldn't have hoped for like more kindred, open-minded, and like eclectic Matrix scholars to be on the show and to, lead it into the future. That's had to be said. So there you go.
I'm humbled. Thank you. That was very nice.
It's true. It's
eloquent.
True. And For sure. And so like, yeah, I'll send you guys a thing for maybe at some point in June. We'll just see, maybe, because who knows what E3 might bring, but I think the big one is going to be SDCC. And just sort of
what's the date of that event?
23rd of July is it's going to be smaller
okay.
scale. It's going to be online, but there could be a teaser poster. That could be something we could get rescheduling, and either way, I'll send you guys that. So, but I'm so honored to meet you both, and I'm stoked to kind of go forward with it. Again, always based on your availability, but we'll go from there. All right.
Yeah, don't hesitate to send us a line. Yeah.
Yes. All right, man. Have a fantastic rest of your day, and great to meet you both.
Thank you. You too.
Bye, guys. Take it easy.